everybody, in this video you'll be learning about string functions in Python. The agenda of my video will be understanding about the string functions in Python, and we'll be discussing about .strip, .lower, .upper, len, .split, capitalize, and count. We'll be discussing about these string functions or methods we can use in Python in this video. So let me just open the project that I've created in PyCharm. So here I've opened that project, and inside of that I have this python.py file, which I already showed you how to create. So now here we have our string functions, so we'll be learning about. The first one in the list is .strip. So let's learn first about .strip, and then we'll move on to the next ones. So basically, .strip is used to remove the leading and trailing white spaces from a string. Let me show you this in action. So here I'm going to simply declare a variable called name and assign this to input. This may be a new function to you. Let me just explain what it does. It is used for taking input from the user in the console. Okay? And here you have to provide a prompt. You have to say the user what he or she should enter. So let's just say the user to enter his or her, enter your name, colon, and then we'll have space so that it's neat. And then we will just do print, just for printing out, we'll print out hello plus the value of name. That is our variable. Hello, we have a space because we need a space over there. Plus, comma, I am, let's say for example, John. I'm John. And now, let's run our program and I will show you what the problem with this is. So, let me just enter in a bunch of spaces, and let me enter in my name. Okay, and then a bunch of spaces again. When I click enter, you see what happens. Because of the spaces that I entered over here, it says hello, and then spaces, and then akshat, and then those spaces again. So what do you do to avoid this kind of a problem? So basically, you just come over here, name equals input, enter your name, and you just do .strip. There is another way of doing this, which I'll be showing you in just a moment. But now, let's just do that. And if you don't get this one button over here, what you can just do is you can right click and click on Run Python. Okay? So enter your name, a bunch of spaces, akshat, and a bunch of spaces again. Now as you can see, we don't have those leading and trailing white spaces, right? That's because of this strip function. There's another way of how we can use the same thing. We can just over here say name.strip when we're printing it out, not split. Strip. Okay, like that. And let's go and run this thing. Enter your name, bunch of spaces, and let's say akshat. And click enter. Again, the same. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about the next string. We have covered .strip. Let's get into .lower. Okay. So basically, .lower is used to convert a string if it's any casing all into lowercase. Let me show you an example of this. So instead of doing name.strip, we'll do name.lower, right? So where it says strip, I'm going to simply change that to lower. So name.lower. Just like that. Let's go ahead and run this and let's check what will be done. Okay, let's just say I'm akshat, and you see I've entered that A in uppercase. Even though I did that, it gives me a fully lowercase string. That's because we use this lower function or method. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the next one. Again, we have covered .strip and .lower. Now we're talking about .upper. So dot upper is kind of like just the opposite for dot lower. It just converts a string into uppercase instead of lowercase like how dot lower does. So to get access or to use the upper function or method, you can just do dot upper instead of doing dot lower. You can just do that, and now we will get a fully uppercase. Okay? So let's run. Enter your name. Let's do all lowercase. Now let's do this. Just some random casing. Okay, and still we get a fully uppercase string. You can also try this out with random casing. With the lower method, you're just going to get the string full in lowercase. Now, the len method or function. Okay, so this is used to retrieve the length of a string. Okay, simply that. So before this print statement, I don't want to remove that. Let's just have another print statement that says to print out the value of name dot, one second, it's not like that. The syntax is a little bit different for this. You say len, and then you should pass the name to that as an argument. Len name. You want to find out the length of name, right? That's why you pass that in. And you'll learn about these function parameters and arguments in one of my other videos. So now let's go ahead and run this. Enter your name, let's say Akshit. It gives me back a 6. It returns a 6. And that is because Akshit is of length 6. So A, K, S, H, A, T. Isn't that 6? Yes, it is. So that's why we got 6. Let's talk about the next one, dot capitalize. So this is used to capitalize the first character of a string. So, when you enter a name, the first letter should be capital, right? Just think of an example like that. Just say hello plus name dot capitalize for capitalizing the first character in the string. Anywhere we are going to enter our name. So, for example, if I kept the A in lowercase and just Akshit all in lowercase, you see how that over here, let me just bring that out. Here, it made the A in lower. I'm sorry, it made it uppercase because we use that capitalize method. Okay, so let's talk about the next one, dot count. Dot count. So this is used to get the number of times and when a character is repeated inside of a string. Okay, so let me just show you that again with another print statement. Print name dot count, and here you should again pass in something. You want to find out how many times a specific character or a string or a word is repeated inside of a string, right? So you should pass in the thing that you expect to be repeated. So let me just pass in A there. Let's go ahead and run this. So now I'm just going to enter my name. So I'm just going to say Akshit. Let me say I am. Okay, I am Akshit. Let's hit enter. It says, one second, let me just run that again. I am Akshit. Okay, hit enter. It says 3. That's because the number of times A has been repeated in this string is 3. So one over here, and one over here, right? Okay, so that's 3. Now let's talk about this split method. So let me give you a definition of split. Basically, split is used to separate or split a string into parts with a delimiter or a separator and create a list out of those separated values. So let me just show you an example of the split method. So here, instead of count, I'm simply going to change this count to split. Okay, split. And here you have to pass in what you want to split with. I mean, like you have to pass in the delimiter or the separator to separate the values. In our case, we'll just pass in A. Okay. Let me just run the program now. Enter your name. Let's just say I am Akshat. And you see, I think this is a little bit confusing. So let me just give another example. But before I do that, let me just explain a little more over here. So first we entered I am Akshat, right? So the first value is I. It's stored here as the first element inside of the list. And then we have a space, right? A space. And so that's also inside of this value, okay? Then we have the delimiter or the separator. So the split has happened. In our case, the delimiter was A. So here's A. And then there's and this the M is being put inside of the list. And if you notice one more thing, that this A is not included inside of this value. That's because it's the delimiter, and the delimiter won't be involved inside of the value. So next we have a space again. After the M we have this space, so even that's taken inside of the value. And then again, we have a separator or a delimiter. So a split again happens. A is not included. And then we get KSH. KSH. And then again, we have this A. So again, the split happens. The A is not included. There's the T over here. So that's what's happening in this case. Now again, as I said, let me show you the next example. So instead of separating with an A, let me just separate with a full stop, just to make things clear. And let's run this. Enter your name. Let's say I full stop am full stop Akshat. If I do that, what do you think is going to happen? 1 second. If I click enter, as you can see, we have I, and then we have this delimiter, right? That's not included again. And then we have am, and then it's here, and this delimiter, so the split happens, that's not included, and then we have option, right? So it's here, it's printed out. Okay, so now let's take the example that you want to split with just a space, right? In usual sentences, you don't have this dot, I dot, am dot. Actually, you don't have that. You just have a normal space, right? So how do you think you will do it? Will you do it like this? It is wrong. Okay, let me just point this out here. So if you pass in this empty string, you're gonna get an error, which I'm going to show now. Many people get caught up over here. So let me just run this and take a look at what happens. Enter your name. Let's just say, actually, we are going to get an error. So the error is value error empty separator. We cannot have that. Many people get confused, but I'm going to make it clear. You cannot have this as an empty string. You should not pass in anything. Then it's going to separate by a space, just a space. So enter your name. Let's say I am Akshat. And again, we get I am Akshat, right? We are separating now with a space instead of a full stop like we did previously. So I hope you understand that you cannot have an empty separator. You have to leave the full thing empty. The split inside of these parentheses, right? You have to leave it totally empty. You should not pass in anything. Okay, then it will separate by a space. Python will think that, oh, I have to separate by a space, and then it'll just do that. So now I just want to share one more final thing with you, that is max split. So here I removed this bracket and added in again. You can see that this function takes two arguments or parameters, whatever you want to call it. So it takes number one, the separator, okay, that is the delimiter, and also max split. So here, as you can see, both of these are optional parameters, means you can optionally pass in anything. So if you don't pass in anything, then the separator is simply going to be set to none, and max split is going to be set to -1. Okay. So now let me just pass in the separator as a full stop. And then for the max split, I'm just going to pass in 1, and I'll show you what this does in just a moment. Let's just go and run this. Enter your name. Let's say I.am.akshith. When I click enter, what happens? It says I and then the rest of the string. And that's what max split does because we have passed in 1. So it'll go from left to right. Because we have passed in 1, it will first search for the delimiter that is over here. The first occurrence of this dot is over here. So we'll separate the part before this. Okay, you'll separate that. We'll remove the delimiter and all of that stuff. And then the string after this is just going to be the next value, the next element inside of our list. Okay, so it's just like that. And this delimiter does not matter now. But if we pass in 2, then it's going to take 2 steps from here. First, it took 1 for this one, and now it's going to take 2, 1 for this one. So now when I run my program, what it's going to do, actually let's just type it in. So I.am.akshith. Okay, hit enter. As you can see, now it takes 2 parts. It makes it 3 parts, right? We have one over here that separates stuff, one delimiter, and then we have the second one over here, which also separates it. And as you can see, now our string, our list, has these 3 values, right? So in simple words, what the max split will do is it'll decide how many splits or how many times it should consider the delimiter to split, okay? So now we pass in some number that is greater than the delimiters that are present. For example, 10. Let's see what it will do. Let's run. I'm just going to say I.am.akshith, the same thing, hit enter, and we get no error, which is good. We just get the maximum number of how many delimiters are there, and we split according to that. In our case, it's 2, so this 10 is going to be actually by Python treated as a 2. So it's just going to do this. I, and then this delimiter, and this delimiter. Very simple. And with that, I hope you have understood about the concept of string functions in Python. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share this video. I will see you guys next time.